So they got this new piece of channel added on here to the trailer. Makes it a little bit wider overall. The boat's really tight when it's sitting on the bunks, and it's just ever so slightly rubbing on the load guides. So I'm going to move those from that piece to the back and then out just slightly, the way it fits better. And that's my plan for the time being. I'm also going to add some longer 2x4s at some point. It's not going to be today, but we'll be able to get a good bit done with what I've got going today. That's what I'm going to work on right now, is getting those repositioned. I ended up not being able to get this bolt loose, so I pulled the grinder out and ground the head off, then I was able to pull it loose. Alright, there we go. So we measured the bottom of the boat. It went from center to out here. Make sure we're about halfway in on the first rib. Give that outside corner some support. And we've got our little bunk holder here. And we're going to go ahead and install that real quick. Now we've got our bunk support set here on the back. We need to move the front one out to match it. But we don't have the hardware yet to do that with. I did not get enough of that, so we're gonna get some more of that tomorrow. But for now, we'll put the load guide on here, and it's gonna sit something like that, right in there somewhere. We're gonna get it bolted on there. And obviously, I've only got 2 bolts in there right now, but that's all I had left. I shorted myself on some of this hardware, so I'll get some more of that and we'll get these bolted on properly. So the next part of this project is getting the bearings replaced. The ones that were in it when I bought it are shot and the wheels are just wobbling around really badly. So I was able to get it home, and now we're going to go ahead and replace that. Wheel bearings are fairly easy to replace, especially on a trailer like this. First you got to remove the cotter pin, then the castle nut, and then the hub comes completely off the spindle. Then you drive out the bearings with a punch and a hammer, being sure to keep it straight as it's going out. Well, we were fortunate. We were able to run down here to O'Reilly's in Palmer, Alaska, and they had all the parts we needed, thankfully. And so spent about 10 minutes in there, got everything I needed, and I'm headed back to the house and we'll get started on putting these bearings in. Then a really important part is making sure everything is super clean. You don't want to have any sort of dirt or metal shavings in your new bearings that would make them wear out faster. Once everything is clean, you're ready to drive your new races in, and then start packing grease into the new bearings. This can be tedious and obviously is very messy, but it's very important to make sure that you have plenty of grease in the bearings to keep them from prematurely wearing out. I usually put the first bearing in the rear side of the hub, closest to the center of the trailer. Then I'm able to put the dust seal on and not have to worry about the new bearing falling out on the ground. Yes. Then lastly, after packing the last bearing, I put that on the spindle and install my castle nut. Then lastly, I install the cotter pin to make sure the castle nut doesn't back off, and I'm all done. As for the boat, there were several rivets that were somewhat loose and had caulk on them, but since it was coming off, I decided we better go ahead and replace these rivets. After drilling the center out with a 5/16 drill bit, we were able to use a punch that separates the shaft from the head of the rivet, and then we're able to knock it loose. This ensures that we don't take out too much material by drilling all the way through and potentially hitting the boat rather than just the rivet. Finally, I use a stainless steel brush in my drill to polish out around where the rivet will be seated. We're using 3M brand 5200 caulk as a sealant or a gasket in the rivets to make sure that there's no leaks after we bucket them. So I'm taking the flat part of my hammer here and putting it against the rivet. And then, okay, go ahead. You can see here it mushrooms the top of the rivet out and gives it that good seal. And then with our 3M 5200, that should lock everything in there and be all set. I can't stress enough how beneficial it was to have a pneumatic chisel. If you're ever going to rebuck rivets or install new rivets, I highly recommend investing in this. It was only about $35 for the air chisel, and then another $20 for the correct chisel bits, but it made everything go so much faster, and I believe it has a better quality seal using the right tools. If this is something you're interested in, I'll leave some affiliate links for Amazon down in the description below, and you can check those out and get what you need to do your boat. Overall, we replaced 157 rivets, and definitely something I could not have done without Caleb's help.
Alright, well, we got all the rivets done finally, and the boat is on the trailer. We've gotten ready to go on the road, so we are going to take it out and do a water test. Well, here we are. We've got the boat here, getting ready to launch it. Caleb towed it out with his truck, so that was really helpful. We're going to throw the motor on real quick, and then get our paperwork box and all that good stuff, and get out here on the water. Alright, well, boat is on the water, and it currently floats. Not seeing any sort of leaks yet. The only water in the boat is back there because, you know, this little plug right here is kind of an important part to have in there, and I started to shove it into the lake without having put that in there. So we got that fixed. So while Caleb's parking the truck and grabbing the gear, I'm gonna go ahead and get the motor hooked up and ready to roll, and we're gonna give this thing a whirl. All right, here on the lake, obviously got the boat motor going, but having some issues here. It's wanting to cavitate. I'll show you when we get back to the boat ramp, but apparently the motor is not sitting deep enough in the water, or the prop's not sitting deep enough in the water. So it'll idle just fine, but then whenever you give it any gas, it just starts cavitating. So unless we're going to do a whole mile and a half per hour, it's not really going to work very well. So I think we're going to have to figure something out, unfortunately. So, yay. Well, we pulled the boat back up on the trailer. We're going to pull it up just a little bit so we can get to the back of it and see what we've got to work with here. Okay, so when the motor is down, that cavitation plate right here should be even at the bottom of the boat, and it's about, looks like 2 inches high. So that's our problem. So Jordan is actually going to bring us some tools, and we're going to notch the transom out just enough to get that to drop down, and then try it again. But I figure what I'll do in the future, once I get the motor I'm actually wanting to get, we'll put a new transom plate on here and add some more plywood, and or a new piece of plywood and the transom plate, and be all set. But for now, this is just a temporary fix and should work though. Okay, so we got our pencil, made our marks where we're going to cut it at. We're going to drop it down to the bottom of this plate here and just cut it straight across, and that should drop it down. Right here was our mark. It's right at 2.5 inches above the bottom of the boat. So if we drop it down 1.5 inches, 1 5/8, that should bring it just right into where we need it. So we're going to give that a try and make sure the steering and everything will clear it all, and try it again.
So we just finished cutting some shims to get the motor pulled up just enough to clear the steering. We didn't realize we were going to end up having to cut it further down, so we wasted time doing this. Seems to be how it always goes, right?
One more on this side.
We'll fold it in half of it.
Let's turn it 90 degrees. Yeah. Crank it down, double check this clears.
Now that we've got everything secure, we're going to put it back in the water and try it again. As you can see, it had the same issue with the cavitation, so we had to pull it out and cut it one more time.
Well, we cut the transom down, kind of janky like. we made it back. Had a good trip out there. Boat did well. After we notched the transom all ugly and janky, but it'll work for now. And then eventually I'll replace the transom whenever we get an actual motor for it. But for now, that's how it's going to be, and it ran well, and I'm really happy with the purchase. Definitely couldn't have beat it. And we're getting ready to do the lights, so we've got a lot of work into this thing, and it's really paying off, and we're super excited about it.
Well, if you enjoyed that, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to follow along for our next adventure. And while you're at it, check out the other videos we have on our channel and explore Alaska with us. Thanks for watching, and we hope you have a blessed day.